Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this little guy. This is the Olight S1 Baton Mini. Very interesting little piece. I have previously reviewed on the channel the S1 Baton, but I've never done the Mini, and there's a lot going on here. And so I want to thank, actually, very much, first off, in the name of full disclosure, I want to thank Olight for sending this guy along. They sent this to me for free as a review sample in exchange for a review, but I told them, as I always do, that I would talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. It might be a gem, it might be junk, and they still sent it along. So thanks for that, Olight. It just means that this is probably the best quality controlled one of these ever, and I've done some extra work to try and stop that from affecting my review, but there it is, full disclosure. Next thing, let's do a little bit of a size comparison here. This is not a big light. Here it is against, first off, the standard CR123 battery. Here it is against a AAA battery, a AA battery. So you can see here, this is actually not all that meaningfully larger than a AA battery. And here it is against a standard 18650 battery, which is, there you go. And then finally against two flashlights. Here it is against the S1 Baton, which is actually bigger, much more so than I expected it to be, which is hilarious because this is already comically small. And then here it is against one of my very favorite everyday carry lights. This is the EGTAC D25A, which is absolutely making this guy look huge. And even on this dimension, where the D25 really excels, this guy isn't all that thinner, or all that fatter, that is. And so that's really nice. I appreciate that. And then actually I'll pull a couple of measurements off it. Why not, right? Probably go to inches because, alas. Okay, 2.12 inches long. See, it's a little bit magnetic there. Overall diameter is about 0.73 inches there, and is probably another relevant dimension, but, you know, hey, it's a cylinder. Probably not, right? So anyways, there you go. Let's go on ahead and go into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of this very interesting little tiny flashlight here. So first off, on the good side, this is actually available in two versions. There's the regular version, the cool white version, and then there is this guy. This is the high CRI version. And high CRI, and I'll compare this because this is a cool white light on the other side here. I don't know, this is probably not actually visible at all via the camera because cameras have built-in color correction, but this provides a much cooler, bluer light, whereas this provides a light that is much better for rendering color. Let's see if I have something colorful here. I really actually don't, which is hilarious, but whatever. But nonetheless, you get much better color rendering because these are high CRI bulbs that are kind of illuminating the studio, so to speak. But a high color rendering index just means that colors look more like themselves when you're shining the flashlight at them. Whereas with really bad flashlights with bad tint, you end up just kind of seeing a bunch of different shades of blue or gray or whatever you'd like. So that's not, I'm sorry, it's a good thing that you can get high CRI. I appreciate that very much. Next thing, this is a USB rechargeable light, and it's weirdly so. What they've actually done here is, rather than using the Olight S1R Baton, actually had a recharging, like a set of contacts on the back of it there, and then a little magnetic USB thing that snapped onto the back of the guy. So that way you could charge it without even opening up the light. But it also had some weird issues wherein if you get something metallic across here, it can arc, and that's not great. Whereas this guy has gone a very different route. This uses just a boring micro USB, and actually the way that it does that is it has a battery that is USB recharged. This blew me away. I didn't know that this was a thing. Like, I didn't know technology was that good. But it is indeed that good. We can put a little micro USB port, because this is just vanilla micro USB, into this battery, which will allow the battery to charge, which is great, because you can charge it anywhere. Any place you've got a computer, any place you've got a micro USB cord, you can charge your light. That's awesome. And there's none of the chance of arcing, etc. So I like the fact that it's USB rechargeable, and in fact, from here on out, I think I'm mostly going to be doing reviews of USB recharged lights because I just think it's such a better approach. So that's good. Next thing, the beam pattern on this guy is nice. What I mean by that is, if I hold this up, you can kind of see it provides a relatively dispersed dot on this. I'm going to compare that to the other version here, the S1, the original S1. You can see maybe that there is a much more defined circle to it, if you will. There's like a circle and then there's some outskirts, whereas this is a little bit more, and part of this is because the bulb on this guy, the glass has been frosted a little bit to make it a little floodier. And that better dispersion generally works a little bit better for my everyday life. I don't need a spotty light very often, but I would like something floody. So that's good. Next thing, this is about as bright as the S1 Baton here. Using the cool white bulb, these two are roughly equivalent. I mean, sure, I'm sure if I did lumen tests, which I can't, I might find some difference, but you know what? This is pretty damn close. So I like that. That's good. Next thing, the clip on this guy is actually a two-way clip. What I mean by that is it can be used either clipping into your pocket like this so that the tip is up, or it can be used clipping into your pocket like this so the tip is down. The other thing I'll say is that, for instance, if you've got yourself a baseball cap, what you can do with this kind of clip is actually slide the brim of your baseball cap right into here. And that way you have yourself a very, very nerdy head-mounted lamp. Is it something you're going to do often? No, but it is absolutely something you can do. So there you go. Next thing, this guy has a clip that is only mountable in one direction. You can see here that the clip only fits in one place. But what that means is that the button is always opposite the clip, which makes it very easy to find this button. So that's kind of nice. And the bottom on this guy is actually magnetic. Let me find something that is steely. Here, I'll use my caliper. Why not, right? And you can see that this bottom of this guy is actually a magnetic thing, and so it grabs onto whatever you're doing. This is shared with the S1, although I gotta say the magnet on the S1 is a lot stronger, but still, it's nice. The interface on this guy is fine. If you just hold down the button, it turns on the moonlight mode, which is the 0.5 lumen moonlight mode. If you double click, you get immediately to turbo. If you triple click, you go immediately to disco mode if you got a pop and lock or something like that. And then there is mode memory for the rest, and if you just turn it on normally and you hold down, it'll just cycle through your modes, high, low, medium, high, until you're happy. So that's fine. I think it's a good interface, and it can let you get to the very dim or the very bright very quickly, which is what's important there. Then finally, speaking of brightness, actually not quite finally, it's got good brightness. Turbo mode, you get 1 minute of 450 lumens, then it cuts down to 250 lumens. This is very fine for a big dark room kind of thing, and it is, even if it's a pretty dark day outdoors, this will still do you okay. It's not like an oh my god spotlight or anything like that, but it's a fine little light. It puts out a fair amount of light. And so that's good. This is a solid illumination. The medium mode is fine for indoor navigation. Absolutely. And you get 6 hours. By the way, you get 1 hour on the high of the turbo mode. You get 6 hours on the medium mode. Low is honestly a little bit creepy indoors. It's at 12 lumens, but it runs for more than a day. And then moonlight is 0.5 lumens, but has 15 days of runtime. Great for the mole people, not so useful for the rest of us. And you also do get slightly higher brightness than I just quoted on the non-high CRI version. If you're willing to put up with worse tint, you'll get a little bit more light. Then finally, on the good side, the price is actually very nice. It's $50, which, you know, is fine. It's a lot of money, but at the same time, compared to a lot of flashlights out there, this is doing just good. So to me, all of that is the good. It's a reasonable price with good brightness, a decent interface, a magnetic bottom on it. The button is always opposite the clip. This clip can be used in a variety of ways, including clip into your cap there. It is about as bright as the S1 Baton. It's got a nicer beam pattern. It does have that USB recharge trick, and it is available with high CRI. On the great side, to me, is the size. This thing is freaking tiny. I mean, seriously, like I said, it is not all that meaningfully larger than a AA battery. Yeah, it's a little different, but at the same time, come on, guys. This is really, really small. It's a little thick, absolutely, but this is something that you can just clip into your pants and basically forget that it's there. And so that, to me, is what's great here, is that this is tiny, and the fact that it is tinier than a light that was already tiny, the S1 regular, is just amazing. Technology is wonderful, and flashlights are just jumping forward by leaps and bounds. It is an exciting time to be alive when it comes, well, in a variety of domains, but also when it comes to flashlights. So there you go. That's good. That's what's great, that is, the tininess. On the bad side, first off, it's another damn black flashlight. Come on, guys, let's get with the program here. Next thing, this has a one-position clip. Like I said, this won't move around, but this also means that anytime you're using it, you're having to use it with this clip sitting there on the bottom. Ergonomically speaking, I'm not so in love with that. I'd kind of rather have the clip sticking out to this side, but I also get it for indexing, and so I'm not so freaking out about that. Next thing, having the charger on the battery directly is kind of a double double-edged sword. At some level, it is more sealed. So, for instance, waterproofing is not compromised by adding a USB charger. And it actually does make the light smaller, I suspect, because if they didn't do that, they'd have to add another layer into which you can plug this, whereas here, the USB recharge can be underneath the barrel. But at the same time, it does make the light a little bit harder to charge than a light that has the USB recharge port directly onto the body of it. Because there you can keep the light intact and just plug that in, and then just unplug it and throw it in your pocket, whereas on this guy, you're doing some unscrewing, some screwing. And it's also a little bit awkward, I'll be honest with you. It does have a little charger light up on there, but it's strange. And I think you probably could use this guy in another light. I did successfully use it in the other S1 Mini, although I wouldn't generally. But so, you know, it's a double-edged sword. I do like being able to plug it in without disassembling the light first, but I can see it either way. So, not a big deal. First thing that's getting to be a slightly bigger deal is that this actually does not have a lanyard loop. You do have a little hole right here on the clip, which I think serves to do that for a lot of people, but on this guy, for instance, on the cap itself, you have a little lanyard hole down here. I'm not usually a big fan of lanyards, but on a light that's this damn small, it's something that could very easily be useful and interesting to people, and I can see a world in which you would lose the clip and put this on a lanyard hole, and that it just doesn't have that, and that's not great to me. It's a little disappointing and frustrating. Not the end of any worlds, though. And then finally, on the bad side, there is a lot of unevenness in color. This is really hard to show off, but it is much bluer right in the center here than it is, and then it goes to a band of yellow, and then it goes back to something that's a little bit more neutral. If you look at this on a white wall, there is definitely a band of yellow here. It's not something I'm a big fan of. ThruNite has a similar issue with a lot of their lights, and it is nice to have the highest CRI, but especially if you compare that to a light like this guy here, which just has one uniform light color throughout. I gotta say, I much prefer that uniformity, and so this is a little bit frustrating, and that's the bad to me, is that it's a little uneven in color, there is no lanyard loop, the charger on the battery is a double-edged sword, it has a one-position clip, it is another damn black flashlight, because damn it, we need to find these guys in the dark. Well, anyways, I digress. There's only one thing on the ugly side, and that is the software lockout. It's really good to have a lockout mode on a flashlight here, where, for instance, on this guy, if you hold this guy down for 3 seconds, guess what? If I tap this, it's not coming on. And that's great. And then this little LED lights up to show you, hey, you're in lockout mode, you idiot. But the problem with the lockout mode, this is a great thing so far, because it means that you can throw this in your pocket and have no worries of this guy coming in. But the problem with the lockout mode, as implemented here, is that the way that you disable lockout is by holding down the button, which is kind of defeating the point of a lockout mode, because you want the lockout mode very specifically to stop the light from turning on if you're holding down the button accidentally. If you, like, you know, press it against something in your backpack, guess what? Now your light's on. Your lockout mode is doing nothing. I can totally get if they did it like you tap once and then hold down, then it's a great lockout mode. Or, you know, in lockout mode, you tap 3 times and then, you know, oh, sorry, went to disco mode. My bad, my bad. But anyways, that makes sense. But just having it so that holding it down disables lockout means that you basically don't have lockout, which is stupid. So, to me, that's the ugly, is that this software lockout is just badly implemented. Final conclusion, though, this is a very nice, very small light that's actually really impressive. It's got a nice mix of runtime, brightness, and size. It's got this built-in USB charger, so it charges anywhere. You don't have to worry about running out for a CR123 battery at, you know, at a grocery store or something like that. And you know what? It's coming in at a pretty nice price point. $50 is A-okay, especially given when your last generation was there, too. I mean, it's not without its flaws. I think they could absolutely work on the color pattern of this bulb. I mean, that's not super impressive. And the software lockout thing, guys, come on. But the thing is, you can, of course, by the way, get a little bit more, a little bit less size, that is, in exchange for lower run times. If you move to a light that's using a AAA battery, I don't actually have one of those handy at the moment, but you can get a light that will be almost as bright and run for much less time, but you know, is going to be markedly smaller than this guy. And of course, when you move up a little bit, for instance, to the D25A in titanium, which is my favorite everyday carry light, you end up with something that's a little bit brighter and runs a little bit longer, although for a fair amount more size. The thing is, this is a very nice little approach here. I think it is way better, by the way, than the S1 Baton at this point in time. There is no way I would recommend this light to anybody, given that this one exists, because it is smaller, but it is just as bright. Okay, maybe not the case in terms of absolute lumen count, but subjectively speaking, these are basically fine in terms of light. They're about the same. I like the light pattern better on this guy. I like the rechargeability, although it's a little less convenient to use than the one with the recharger in the back if you have the specialized cable. And that's a big deal there. No specialized cables is helpful. But anyways, this is just a better choice overall. You can charge it with any micro USB. It's just better. And so I think that this is the new S1 Baton to beat. I wouldn't send anybody to the regular one, given that the Mini exists now. So that kind of the final conclusion here is that there are a lot of really nice lights out there. I still like the D25A. Just gets a little bit more light, a little bit more power, a little bit more time. But this is a really, really nice piece, and I think it's an even more compelling version of an already really wonderful light. So there you go. Hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Hope this lit up your life. Bye now.